Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Tuesday. It's going up for the next 3 hours here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our streaming video channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube and WIBW News on Facebook. However, wherever, whenever you're tuned into the program today, thank you so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis will be along in the 4 o'clock hour. Brendan Dworzinski is off today. Glad to be with you for the next 3 hours here on 580 Sports Talk. At 6 o'clock, we'll pass the rock to the Royals Baseball Network. Royals and White Sox tonight from Rate Field on the south side of Chicago. First of a 3-game set, second meeting of the year between these two AL Central foes after the two teams split a 4-gamer in Kansas City back in April. Stephen Kolek on the bump for the Royals. Eric Fetty gets the ball for Chicago. First pitch at 6:40, so pregame at 6 o'clock right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We're going to talk some Royals today. We're at that 41-game mark, just past Dayton Moore's time of the year where he always said this is when you know about your team. And we talked a lot about what the Royals are, or what they look like they are anyway, from a team perspective. You drill down a little bit more on some individuals today, because there are more guys than I realized for the Royals who are performing about the way you would expect them to perform, or at any rate, the way that you would hope that they could perform. So the question is there more upside for this group? Is there more of a chance that some performances can meaningfully improve? Or does this 19-22 start, mediocre as it is, still represent a team that is maybe a little bit maxed out performance-wise? We'll chew on that answer a little bit. The bullpen is something I want to touch on, too, a little bit today. I'm not sure that the Royals have a fix beyond guys need to throw more strikes. I really don't know that there's an immediate fix. You can always address relief at the trade deadline. There will always be teams with good relievers who are willing to trade them, or at least relievers who have had good seasons, or relievers with good stuff. There will always be flyers you can take. Doesn't matter how good or not your farm system is. You can go buy yourself a reliever, whether it's a rental or whether it's a guy with a couple of years of team control. You can go do that in June and July when the trade markets really start to heat up. But before the Royals get there, is there any fix? Is there any room for improvement? There's certainly room for improvement. Is there any hope for improvement? We'll talk about that a little bit. And then one player we've really got to look at is Salvador Perez, because the Royals are in a conundrum with the captain, because he's 36 years old with a bad hip and he's not hitting. That's true. But he was also 35 years old and not hitting at this time last year. And then it was around this time that he started hitting. And it wasn't superstar level for the final 130-odd games of 2025, but he was certainly everyday cleanup hitter acceptable with the 30 home runs and the 100 RBI to prove it. So how long does Salvador Perez get to prove that this is just another slow start? Or the possibility that also exists that he proves that this is just what 36-year-old Salvador Perez is now, and that it's not a cleanup hitter, and it may not even be an everyday player anymore. I don't know that we're there yet. I don't know we're all the way there. But it's a more realistic possibility than is enjoyable to think about. So how long should the leash be for the Royals with the captain in the middle of the order? Because he's getting the same kind of treatment as other franchise legends all across baseball have gotten before him and will get after him. It's really hard to demote the guy who's been a middle-of-the-order fixture to not the middle of the order. It's really, really hard to do. You know who couldn't do it? The Royals with George Brett. They couldn't do it. Couldn't bring themselves to do it. I don't know that it cost them the playoffs in 1993, but it wasn't a good decision. It was detrimental to the team. We'll get into that a little bit later on. Talk about the captain and the leash that he has. Should it be much longer? We'll talk some Chiefs today. We've got a schedule leak. We know week 1 for the Kansas City Chiefs. It is Monday Night Football. Of course, they would give Mahomes one extra day just to make sure that he could be ready for the first game of the season for the Chiefs. It'll be the Chiefs and the Broncos on Monday Night Football. The where is not yet decided. Don't know where that game is going to be. But Chiefs fans everywhere should be hoping that that game is in Denver for obvious reasons. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the program today. We'll get to some Jayhawk talk with our guest on today's program, Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. He'll join us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, for Jayhawk Weekly. Some news on the recruiting front for both Kansas football and basketball to discuss. Talk about the Dennis Parker signing, another high school signing for KU basketball. KU football's got their quarterback for the next high school recruiting class already as well. We'll touch on that. A little bit of baseball, too, with Michael Swain coming up at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. He will join us for Jayhawk Weekly. And we'll have all our usual Tuesday fun, 580 Sports Talk headlines, including a playoff roundup, top of the 5 o'clock hour. We got Random Question Tuesday coming up. We got What is Wrong with You coming up, all that fun stuff here on the show today. And, of course, your interaction with the program is invited and encouraged throughout the day. Want to hear from you. The text line is open, 785-272-9429, 785-272-9429. Can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube stream. We are live on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. So pop on in and say hello. Interact with your fellow listeners. Interact with your hosts as the show goes on. And if you have yet to do so, go subscribe to that YouTube channel. We're trying to drive up to 1,000 YouTube subscribers, and we're getting close. So if you've not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, you're a listener to the show, go do it. Go do it. Doesn't cost you anything but a click or a tap of your screen. Again, that's 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Royals are 19-22 entering tonight's series opener in Chicago, and this is not a White Sox team. We'll dig into them a little bit more later on. This is not a White Sox team that you automatically now assume that you are going to take at least 2, if not 3 games of a 3-game series against. In fact, they come in to today's action half a game better than the Royals and the Tigers, for that matter, in the American League Central standings with a record of 19-21. So no promises that the Royals will leave the road trip better than they started it. Chicago has proven to be an improved team this year. St. Louis, I kind of think, is doing it with some mirrors and will eventually settle closer to the bottom than the top of the American League Central. But they've got a 23-17 record right now. That's really hard to argue with. Through their first 40 games, they like what they're seeing from a lot of their young hitters. So, tough road trip. 3-3 probably be a good outcome on the road trip. Hold your water. Don't lose any ground. Find a way to go 500 on the road through the course of the season. 500 be an improvement from where the Royals have been on the road, certainly for the better part of the season to date. But as we hit this portion of the season and we start to move forward, the numbers, the stat lines start to crystallize a little bit. And this was always the time of year where Dayton Moore believed that you started to see what a team was. So we talked a little bit about that yesterday. What are these Royals? And the straightest answer I can give you is I don't think we know yet. I think they've been too inconsistent, and maybe that's what they are. That's an unsatisfying answer, but that might be what defines the 2026 Royals in the end, because I think it has been what has defined their first 41 games. But on an individual level, I think it's really interesting to look at this Royals team because I think they've got a lot of guys who are performing at about the level that you would expect them to perform or would hope that they would perform at for the better part of a season. And they've probably got more overachievers, or at least more important overachievers than underachievers to this point. And again, that doesn't speak very highly of a team that's 19 and 22 if you're looking up and down the roster and saying, well, actually, some of these guys have overperformed. More of these guys maybe have overperformed than underperformed. But I'll explain to you why I think that's not actually that unflattering here in a little bit. First of all, the guys who the Royals have gotten what they've expected to get out of, like Bobby Witt Jr. is his own category, right? He's playing MVP level baseball. You saw how good it had to be for Bobby Witt Jr. to drag the Royals to a postseason appearance in 2024. It was over 9 wins above replacement. It was arguably the greatest individual season in Kansas City Royals history on both sides of the ball and on the bases. Bobby's tracking to have a very similar 2026. He's the best defensive player in baseball right now. He's lapping the field. And once the home runs start to leave the ballpark, and they will, to go with the average, to go with the on-base ability, to go with the speed, what you've got is the most complete player in the American League and maybe the most complete player in baseball. Bobby Witt Jr. is doing Bobby Witt Jr. stuff. Michael Garcia is doing Michael Garcia stuff. Like at this point, I think we can say he's playing at the level that's going to put him in all-star consideration every year of his prime. He's that kind of player. Excellent defender. Had a little bit of a lull with the stick, but that started to pick up. Obviously, had a big game on Sunday. Batting average is back up to 285. He's the second best hitter on this team in terms of OPS. I think he's got some more home run power coming. Only 3 long balls for Michael to this point, but I think he's got some more power coming along as well. Also offensively, like I said, I think the biggest reason for optimism moving forward for the Royals is the balance that they have shown. Maybe it's not the biggest reason for optimism moving forward. Maybe it's the best development. Let's put it that way. The best development for the Royals through 41 games is that this is a deeper and more balanced lineup that is no longer so reliant on 3 guys. And part of that is the play of Isaac Collins, who has raised his OPS to 713. Part of that is the growth of young players like Jack Caglione and Carter Jensen. I don't think it's out of the question to think that Isaac Collins can give a similar batting line throughout the year, including the on-base percentage that he has posted to this point at 352. I said before the season began, if the Royals could get average offense from Jensen and Caglione, that would be, number one, a massive upgrade from what they got basically from those spots in the lineup last year. But also, I think that would be a fine outcome for those 2 guys in their first big league seasons. Jack's 23, Carter's 22. Right now, that's been about what they've been, right at about average. Carter Jensen, a 99 OPS plus and a 96 WRC plus. Cags is at a 107 OPS plus, a 104 WRC plus. Read more simply, Cags has been slightly above average. Carter Jensen just a tick below. But average-ish for both of those guys, I think that's attainable. And I think there's ceiling there too. Again, once the ball starts flying out of Kauffman Stadium, those guys got real power. And I think could see their numbers jump in the second half. So offensively, I don't think there's anything like crazy out of the ordinary positive, except for one guy. We'll get to him in a second. On the mound, I think that the Royals have gotten what we would have expected them to get from Chris Bubic and Seth Lugo. These guys are true craftsmen. They're not aces, but these are solid, quality, dependable arms in your rotation. You need those guys if you're going to win a bunch of games. Chris Bubic could certainly stand to tighten up his command. Seth Lugo could stand to avoid the blow-up outing. He's had a couple of those this year, though Notably, the Royals won one of them. But even if those things don't happen, the work the Royals have gotten from Bubic and Lugo is, I think, what they need and what can be reasonably expected, as much as you can expect anything from a pitcher, right? Because everything with a pitcher, when you project it out, comes with the big old health permitting caveat. Those guys have been rock solid. Guys who've probably overachieved for the Royals, Michael Wacha is the most obvious one. He's pitched like a number 2 starter to begin this season. That's not really what Michael Wacha is. Doesn't miss quite enough bats. The under-the-hood numbers for Wacha say he's probably not going to pitch to an ERA in the mid-2s all season. But I don't think his regression is going to be so severe. I think he'll continue to provide more of that solid mid-rotation work. The rest of his season looks like Seth Lugo's season has looked to date. That's still a pretty darn good outcome. Kyle Isbell has overachieved. I think it's interesting. Again, getting into the under-the-hood numbers and just kind of looking at Kyle Isbell's profile, it strikes me that Kyle Isbell is trying, as an offensive player, to be the best Kyle Isbell he can be. And what I mean by that is, like, he's not changing his batted ball profile a bunch. He's not trying to lift everything to the pull side and decide that, well, now I'm going to be a 20-home run hitter. He's just kind of keeping the same approach, the same swing, and he's put together a really solid first 40 games, a stretch that ranks among some of the best play of his career. The OPS isn't spectacular. It's just 732. He's never going to be a big on-base guy because he doesn't draw walks, but he puts the ball in play. He's popped a couple of home runs to the pull side, 3 to be exact. I would love to see it continue for Kyle Isbell. If he could be an above-average offensive contributor, that's massive for this team. But I've also seen Kyle Isbell's entire career, right? I'm not going to believe that this is Kyle Isbell's new leaf and new normal and new attainable offensive production until he's done it for a whole lot longer than 40 games. The third guy that I think has really been an underachiever or overachiever for the Royals is Daniel Lynch IV, with his 2.20 ERA and 16 relief appearances. But I also think his improvement is real. I don't think he's going to only allow 4 hits per 9 innings all season. That's a bit of good fortune there. But the strikeout numbers and the strikeout to walk numbers are really, really encouraging for Lynch. And I think that even if he doesn't pitch like bullpen ace the rest of the year, the Royals have landed a reliable left-hander and are getting the best work that they possibly can get out of Daniel Lynch. And the added bonus has been that he's pitched this well at a time period where the Royals bullpen has needed someone to make a step forward. What about the underachievers? The guys who have not been good, and I don't have a whole lot of hope that they're going to be a whole lot better from this point forward, are all on the mound. A couple of them are guys who came into the year with a chance to be high leverage relievers. Heck, for one of them, leverage is in his nickname, John Schreiber. He's not Johnny Leverage anymore. He's Johnny Low Leverage. And honestly, if these numbers continue, like the ERA doesn't look terrible, right? It's not an unsightly earned run average, 3.38 through 17 relief appearances. ERA is a liar sometimes. Schreiber has just 6 strikeouts in 16 innings. He has 9 walks in 16 innings. He's given up a pair of home runs in 16 innings. That is the profile of a pitcher who shouldn't be anywhere near high leverage situations and is probably closer to getting designated for assignment than he is to being able to be trusted in high leverage situations. And I think you've already started to see Quatrero back off of him in those spots a little bit as this season has begun, but it's really troubling, the downturn in strikeouts and the uptick in walks. 5 walks per 9, 3.5 strikeouts per 9. Schreiber's got a little bit of equity with the work he's done the last couple of years, but that's not rosterable if that continues. And the reason that's a problem is because he's been trustworthy for Matt Quatrero over the years. There's still going to be that thought in the back of Q's mind, hey, Schreiber can get me a double play. Can he? Is he going to throw a strike to get a double play? I don't know. Alex Lang also falls into this category. His ERA is up near the 6s. He's striking out over a batter per 9. That's nice, but he's walked 6 per 9, giving up 2 home runs in 18 2/3. Just not in the strike zone enough. Just not a guy you can really trust with meaningful innings. And right now, with a bullpen full of guys who have struggled in meaningful opportunities, that does present a problem. The other guy who I think the regression that he has seen this season, maybe harsh numbers-wise right now, but is probably real, is Noah Cameron. I talked a little bit about him because he wasn't real sharp on Sunday. He could stand to make a mechanical adjustment. It seems right now that he's lost his arm slot a little bit, and that's why he hasn't been maybe as sharp as he was last year. But I also don't think that a 2.99 ERA, which he posted last year, was a true reflection of who Noah Cameron was. He is pitching much more in line with a guy who is a number 5 starter. And look, that's fine. Somebody's got to be a number 5. But the Royals do need some better work. They need the length. That was the one thing that Cameron gave them last year that was really impressive. He was going 6 every time out. They need that length from Cameron, and it's more imperative because the bullpen's been less trustworthy this year. But I do not think a rebound to 2025 ERA is going to be what we see from Cameron. That ERA will come down. I don't think it's going to stay in the mid-5s. It'll come back a little bit, but I'm not optimistic that we're going to see 2025 Noah Cameron. Then you have the guys who have stunk, but I don't think are going to keep being bad. And health permitting for both of them. Vinny Pasquantino had the back issue. Hopefully that is starting to clear up. First 10 games of May, Pasquantino's hitting 206, just a 302 on base, but a 452 slug. Hopefully the back loosens up. The production with runners in scoring position starts to come around. It's a second straight year Pasquatch had a miserable April. He was red hot in May last year and really continued a fairly torrid pace throughout the rest of the season. And hopefully that trend line continues because the Royals need him. And they need him for a lot of reasons. Number one, he hits in an important spot in the order. So he's coming up a lot in those runners in scoring position situations in which he, in his own words, has been, I believe he said horse and then a word I can't say. It was a compound word. The first one was horse, and the second one is not FCC friendly. But you get the idea. And he wasn't wrong. Like, he has been horse bleep with runners in scoring position. That obviously has to change because of where he hits in the order. But also, Pasquatch is going. It's good for the vibes. He's the vibes guy. He is walking, talking, first base playing, left-hand swinging vibes for that Royals clubhouse. And when he gets going, so it's a happier dugout. It's a happier clubhouse. So the Royals need him. And I do think he's going to come around. Thought Sunday was a step in the right direction for him. First 10 games of May have been pretty good. Hopefully the power's starting to come back. The back can loosen up. Didn't tighten up on that plane ride to Chicago. And we start to see more of the kind of hitter we know Pasquantino can be over the next little while. The other guy, maybe the most important guy, is Cole Ragans. And again, the health, the red flags on the health side are really big right now because we don't know when he's going to be back on the mound next. I'm still a firm believer in Cole Ragans' ceiling. I know what it looks like when it's good. When it's good, it's great. When it's good, it's untouchable. It hasn't been good this year. Don't know how much of that has been the elbow, if that's a new problem, if he maybe overcompensated mechanically trying to come back too quick from the shoulder last year or from when he got bruised he got hit in the hand with that comebacker in Cleveland, came back for his next start, if that was a mistake. But Ragans hasn't been good yet this year. If they can get good Cole Ragans, it can't be an if. I'll say this. If this team is really going to contend over the long haul, it can't be an if. They need that guy. They need that guy to be ace-like at the top of their rotation because then it's even more additive that Lugo and Bubic are giving you solid work and that Waka's giving you solid work. It pushes everybody down the depth chart just a little bit. Michael Waka's your third best starter. That's not bad, actually. But if he's your fourth best starter, you got Stu going. So those are the two guys have to bounce back. And then there's Salvador Perez, who's in his own category, and we'll get to him a little bit later on in the show. But he is obviously in his own category. He's another guy, vibes guy, certainly, but That's an important part of the order and just not going to start the season. So that's kind of where I'm at with the Royals. To cliff notes it for you. A lot of guys are playing who've played the majority. Like I didn't throw in like reserve guys like Lane Thomas, Marte, Nick Lofton, guys like that, because the sample size is not a clean 40-game sample size for those guys. But of the guys who've been around and are everyday pieces, there's a lot more to like than not like. But the stuff that is lagged, the stuff keeping this team back, has been very important players. Your 3-hole, your 4-hole, your number one starter. And this looks a lot different if the Royals can get all three of them going. Because I don't think anything else, broadly speaking, is so unsustainable as to be so obvious, be glaring when it jumps off. Isbell's OPS, probably the only thing that jumps off the page is like, well, yeah, that's probably going to come way down by the time the season is over. There really isn't a whole lot else that looks like, well, yeah, that's obviously too good to be true. Maybe Walker's ERA. Okay, fine. But I'd rather be in that position, feeling like, okay, we're 19-22, but the guys who haven't gotten going are proven guys and our best guys. And if we can get them going, everything else, all of these complementary pieces lock into place, and then our MVP candidate can carry us toward the postseason. That's the place the Royals find themselves in at the 41-game mark. We'll get your thoughts. Text lines open, 785-272-9429. You can also interact in the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Later on this hour, we'll talk a little bit about Monday Night Football Week 1. That's where we're going to see the Kansas City Chiefs open the 2026 season. Have some thoughts on that. Some more Salvador Perez thoughts, I'll say, for the 4 o'clock hour. Michael Swain will join us for Jayhawk Weekly. We got headlines, Random Question Tuesday. Whole lot more fun to be had on this Tuesday show. Thanks for being with us on 580 Sports Talk. 3:36 on 580 Sports Talk. We're just getting started on this Tuesday. So glad you're here. My name is Dan Lucero. Royals open a series in Chicago tonight against the White Sox. We'll get a preview, starting lineups, all that coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. You've got some thoughts. You're weighing in first to the text line from the 785-272-9429 text line number. Shoot us a text. Let us know what you're thinking. So some concerns shared about the bullpen here from the 785. John Schreiber more like Johnny Mop-Up at this point. Alex Lang has always had control issues, still able to be effective. Now he's just wild. More concerns about the bullpen in the live chat as well. Carl in the live chat on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk, says the middle of the bullpen, not a good place to go if you want to win a game. Schreiber, Mears, I just don't trust these guys. The middle relief is a problem right now for the Royals. There's no getting around that. It's not a bullpen that I really feel great about. I do feel better about Lucas Erceg than I did a little bit ago. Erceg in his last 8 appearances has allowed only 2 hits and no earned runs. So Erceg's starting to put the pieces together in the 9th inning. That's been really positive to see. Daniel Lynch, I think, maybe overachieving a little bit at this stage, but it's a strike-throwing lefty arm that can miss bats. That's valuable. Matt Strahm has been just okay. I kind of had higher hopes for Strahm coming over. He's been just okay, kind of in that 8th inning role right now. You'd like him better if he were pushed back in the bullpen hierarchy. He's been fine. Like, he hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been spectacular. Steven Cruz has been very eye-opening since coming back from Omaha. 2 very good-looking outings for Cruz since he returned to the big leagues. He throws hard, and he's got a good slider, and that's one of those you kind of hope you catch lightning in the bottle with for 60 innings in a season. Like, I'm intrigued by Cruz. I know his start to the year could not have gone worse, and you only get one chance to make a first impression, and Steven Cruz's first impression in 2026 was giving up all those home runs against the Twins. 3 straight, three in a row in the 9th inning of that game against the Twins in the opening home series of the year. But his 2 outings since coming back from Omaha have been electric. I'd like to see more of that. And then, Nick Mears, I had a little higher hopes for him, but he's just been kind of whatever. He's not missing a lot of bats. Took the loss on Sunday. Had been preventing runs, which is the job, but not in the way that gives me a lot of confidence that he's a high leverage arm. Alex Lang and John Schreiber, we talked about. I think those guys are hanging on by a thread. Like, you walk 6 guys per 9 and you're right-handed, hard to justify your roster spot. If you're walking 5 and striking out 3.5 per 9, really hard to justify your roster spot. And that's what both of those guys are doing. So, yes, the middle of the bullpen, not real good right now, which is why it's so imperative that the Royals get depth from their starting pitching. You're absolutely right about that, Carl. Thanks for the thoughts. Question from the text line from the 785. How many games can the Royals win with batters that have a 1 as the first number in their batting average? So I wanted to make this point, and I'm glad this question will kind of nod at this. So the only guy with an average like that, only guy who matches your description, texter, right now is Salvador Perez. And we're going to talk more about him because that is a conundrum for Matt Quatraro and the Royals right now. How long do you give Salvador Perez to prove that this is just a slow start? Vinny's back up to 200, right at 200, but he's back up to 200. Everybody else pretty clear of that Mendoza line, not Lane Thomas, but I don't really care what his batting average is. If he gets on base at a 356 clip, I could care less what he hits. If he's drawing walks and getting on base and doing damage to lefties, I'm not really concerned about what the batting average column says for Lane Thomas. But this is, I think, why you look at this Royals team right now and feel like, at least offensively, you feel like they're in a better place. If you remember last year, how many guys the Royals were playing where it just felt like they were giving them nothing? Nothing. Easy way to look at this. Just looking at wins above replacement. Just looking at baseball references, wins above replacement. You know how many guys took 100 at bats for the Royals last year and were negative wins above replacement guys? Too many is the right answer here. But Drew Waters, Jack Caglione was a win and a half below replacement. Michael Massey was sub-replacement. Nick Lofton was sub-replacement. Mark Canha was a full win below replacement. Got a ton of at-bats early in the season. Hunter Renfroe was a win and a half below replacement level in just 35 games. You know how hard it is to be that bad in that short of amount of time? It's one thing if you play the whole season and you're a win and a half below replacement. 35 games? Well, that's how you get released and never appear again. I don't know what Hunter Renfroe's doing, but I hope he saved his money. I hope he's enjoying post-baseball life, because I think whether he wants it to be or not, that is the chapter of his life he has arrived at. But like, they acquired Randall Grichuk late in the year, 105 plate appearances. He was sub-replacement level. And that's to say nothing of guys who started the season on the Royals roster and hurt them. They were negative contributors, like Kevin Biggio, like MJ Melendez. Quick aside about Melendez. He's cooled down a little bit after that scorching start with the Mets. Still carrying a 500 slug. Still very beatable by high fastballs. Like every time I've seen a highlight, either he's pulling a ball down into the corner for extra bases or he is swinging and missing at a high fastball, which there was a lot more of the latter than the former in a Royals uniform. That's why he's not wearing a Royals uniform anymore. But anyway, my point. That's a lot of guys. I ran through a long list of guys who got considerable playing time for the Royals last year and were negative contributors. Did not help. In fact, actively hurt the Royals' chances of winning. Do you know how many guys the Royals have right now who are sub-replacement level? They got 2 on the active roster. Salvador Perez is one of them. Michael Massey is the other. He's at negative 0.1 wins above replacement. Everybody else who has played for the Royals has been replacement level or better, with the exception of Tyler Tolbert, who barely counts because he played 7 games, mostly as a pinch runner or a defensive replacement. So I make that point to say that this team has a lot more guys who are helping them when it comes to the position player side than hurting them. That's a big deal, because last year, that's probably what cost them the playoffs. So that's a step, certainly, in the right direction. We're going to take a time out here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll do a quick pivot. I have a broader point to make about Salvador Perez. We're going to get to that in the 4 o'clock hour. And make a quick pivot here because we do have some Chiefs news today. We really got it. Did we get it late last night? It may have happened late last night. I went to bed after the hockey game, about which more in the playoff roundup. So it may have been late last night. Adam Schefter leaked this, or early this morning. Doesn't really matter for our purposes because we're first time we get to talk about it today. But the Chiefs are opening on Monday Night Football. And you better hope that game's in Denver. And I'll explain why when we come back on 580 Sports Talk. Well, we have breaking news to add to the breaking news. Breaking news to add to the not breaking news. So we found out overnight, early this morning, whenever it was that you found out, the Chiefs are indeed going to open their season in prime time. The NFL couldn't resist putting the Chiefs in a prime time window in week one, even with the uncertainty over the return of quarterback Patrick Mahomes. It was announced that it was going to be the Chiefs and the Broncos on Monday Night Football to open the season. And as of about when I went on the air, we didn't know where the game was going to be played. Well, we know now. The NFL has made official that the Kansas City Chiefs will be the home team in their season opener against the Denver Broncos. It'll be the Chiefs and the Broncos, Arrowhead Stadium, September 14th, Monday Night Football. You can hear the music in your head, can't you? Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. And the Joe Buck announcing, we didn't get the matchup we thought we were going to, but tonight, Justin Fields and Jarrett Stidham take the field for these AFC West longtime rivals. I don't actually think it's going to be Fields and Stidham, but man, can you imagine? Can you imagine? This is not just the NFL banking on one quarterback returning from surgery and an offseason injury and offseason rehab. They're banking on two quarterbacks returning from offseason surgery. Bo Nix, in fact, has had two surgeries on an ankle that has apparently needed some surgical procedures and some work done to it in the past. So it's not just one team that they're holding their breath on. It's two. It's two teams where the NFL's going, God, I hope we don't end up with Fields and Stidham on Monday Night Football. Because I'm going to tell you what I'll do if it's Justin Fields versus Jarrett Stidham on Monday Night Football. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. Something else. All right, that's not true. I watched the Chris Oladokun games. I watched every second of that Week 18 game, that crime against football that was Raiders-Chiefs. I'm going to be there no matter what. They could play one of y'all at quarterback for the Chiefs, and I will dutifully be watching. I will be there no matter what. The rest of America are going to be doing something else if we get Justin Fields and Jarrett Stidham week one. So the point I was going to make before they announced where the game was going to be was I would rather that game be in Denver than be at Arrowhead. And look, I guess I understand why, because last year it was the late season meeting between the two teams that was at Arrowhead Stadium. It was a Christmas game. And the earlier season meeting was in Denver. So this year, flip it around. And I understand that. But when would you rather play in Denver? Would you rather play in Denver week one, September? We have nice weather in Denver. 300 days of sunshine a year. Anybody who's from Colorado will tell you. 300 days of sunshine a year. We don't snowshoe to school or work. We're mountain adjacent, but we're not in the mountains. That's what they'll tell you. I know because I am they. I am one of them. Would you rather play in Denver week one, or would you rather play in Denver in December? Like that's an easy one. I want that home game. If I were the Chiefs, I would have wanted that home game, that divisional home game. I want that in December. I want them coming to Arrowhead in the cold. I want them coming to Arrowhead when I know I've got healthy, activated Patrick Mahomes against that defense. I don't know that I'm real thrilled about the prospect of going to Denver in December. Because right now, like, I feel like the Broncos and the Chiefs are on level terms. Like, I think that the Chiefs have a significant quarterback advantage, provided both Nix and Mahomes are healthy. Like, it's a chasm between those two quarterbacks. But, like, man for man on the 53-man roster, pretty close. I'd say pretty close right now between the Broncos and the Chiefs. I would have wanted that game in Denver early and not because that's how, they load the schedules now is you get a lot of those meaningful divisional games in the final month of the season. NFL does that on purpose. So, maybe I'm wrong. And maybe Kansas City goes to Denver last week of October and then they're just done playing the Broncos for the final 2 months of the season. But if I could have chosen for the Chiefs, I would have said, yeah, give them that first game at home. They can have their opener at home. That's fine. The funny thing is, nobody's happy. Nobody's happy because I know some people who are Broncos fans, and they're hacked off that they don't get to host the season opening game because they feel like they deserve that because they won the division, damn it. They were a quarterback injury away from the Super Bowl. They should get to play at home, is what they say. I'm speaking as one of them, which to be extremely clear, I would never associate with that color orange. I can't do it. That orange, that's not that kind of orange you could sit with. That's nasty orange. I hate that orange. I've hated that orange my whole life, even growing up there. So I am not one of them. Let me be clear. But yeah, that's that Bronco fan entitlement that kicks in. We should get to be at home because we won the division. What, are you going to hang a banner? You going to hang a banner for that? You should. It's as good as it's going to get in the Bo Nix era. You should hang a banner. AFC Championship game participant. Though you should hang a banner, Broncos. It will never get better than that with Bo Nix as your quarterback. Never. It ain't going to be better than that for a long damn time in Denver. So they should hang a banner. Just, in week 2. Because in week 1, they're coming to Kansas City. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this hour 580 Sports Talk on the other side here on WIBW. Wrapping up this first hour of 580 Sports Talk. So we know the Chiefs are going to be at home on Monday night. And aside from the, for the sake of a competitive advantage, I'd rather have the late season game in Kansas City than the early season game in Kansas City against the team that I do think is the most, I think they're the most direct threat to the Chiefs returning to the top of the AFC West. They deserve that level of respect. They won the division last year. And secondly, the other two teams playing in domes. So it doesn't really matter when you play them. Who cares? Oh, no, we got to go to SoFi Stadium in December where 65% of the building is going to be in Chiefs red. The same with Allegiant Stadium. Ooh, scary. No, that's the one other home field advantage in the division. You at least want to play when it's warm. You at least want to play there when it's a little warm. But since that's not the case, you can now focus on this. The thought of what Arrowhead Stadium is going to sound like if it's Patrick Mahomes running out of the tunnel before week 1. Like, I might get goosebumps just thinking about what that stadium is going to sound like if Mahomes is indeed back for week 1. And everybody at the worldwide leader is whatever religious ritual they got. They light some votives, rubbing their rosary beads, hitting the knees, facing Mecca with their prayer robes, like whatever you got at the worldwide leader. Sending up the praise and the prayers to make sure that they get Patrick Mahomes in week 1. They don't get Bo Nix. Who cares? That's Bo Nix. Whatever. Stiddy's ready, right? Sean Payton, Stiddy's ready. Stiddy's ready. He was ready all right in that AFC Championship game. He's ready to urinate down his leg in the snow. But no, ESPN's got to have Mahomes, man, because they don't want to put. We've seen Justin Fields in prime time. Like we have seen that. Unfortunately, we have seen that. We know what that looks like. So I guess, I mean, you could read it if you were so inclined as a vote of confidence from ESPN. And I don't know how closely they confer with their partners in the league, but that could be viewed as a vote of confidence that Mahomes is going to be ready for week 1. And I kind of think he's going to be too, but boy, ESPN is, rub those rosary beads just in case. Coming up at the 4 o'clock hour, what are the Royals going to do about Salvador Perez? Because it's another slow start for the captain. Plus, Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain. Coming up in hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday afternoon. So glad you're with us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video streaming channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook. And if you're on our video channels, you've already seen that the gang's all here. Spencer Dupuis is across the glass. Brendan Dworzinski is across the table. How you guys doing? Everybody good?
Good.
Feeling good?
Fine. I'm all right.
Doing okay on a Tuesday?
I'm all right. Yeah. Yeah.
Just okay.
Summer's here
Okay,
already.
Brendan
I don't know how I like
Belichick.
I just read through the batting splits page in the 2026 season for Salvador Perez, so I'm not exactly in a great mood.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the captain and the decision that the Royals might be confronted with here, and how long can they put it off? How long reasonably can they put off making what might be a hard decision about what to do with their captain and a player who, by the end of this year, could end up the franchise's all-time home runs leader? It's not going to be a fun conversation if it gets there, but it might get there. It very well might. So we're going to talk about that this hour of the show. We'll also have Michael Swain for Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, on the program for Jayhawk Weekly. Lots to talk about from a recruiting perspective. KU basketball adds another piece. KU football adds their quarterback for the next high school recruiting class. Lance Leipold loves to get the quarterback taken care of.
Well, and it makes sense. I mean, is anyone a better recruiter? When you get a class in, you want those kids to then reach out to like the guys they know or they played 7-on-7 with or their teammates or whatever to try to recruit them. Is there anyone to better do that than your quarterback? Like, hey, come catch passes from me. Come take the handoffs from me. I feel like that's useful. Also,
Avery Johnson was a huge recruiter for Kansas State after they got him committed.
And frankly, I'd rather have the hard part out of the way too. Like that, you got to have one. And
every class, you have to recruit in every class.
Yes, I am 100% a believer in that. And clearly Lance Leipold is too. The staff is too. Get it settled. Get it taken care of. And, you're going to have to fight off other schools trying to get in next year to pull them in late. But no, I think that's great for the program. I know Swain's got some stuff up on the site right now about some positive trends for this team. So excited to talk to Michael today.
Yeah, looking forward to having him on. What is wrong with you coming up this hour as well. Your texts are always welcome. 785-272-9429. One texter from the 785 calling me out. Thought you said Brendan was off today. Well, Brendan called an audible, as often happens in the sports world.
Just when you think you have all the answers, I change the question.
An audible was called. He said, I got to get in here. I got to get in here with the fellas.
Yeah.
And talk a little sports.
I did the Aaron Rodgers thing. All my audibles are just hand signals. And if I don't tell you right while we're in the huddle what the hand signals mean, you're going to run the wrong route.
I'm glad
that's what we did.
I'm glad it's that Aaron Rodgers thing and not the other Aaron Rodgers thing, which is I'm going to go on a diarrhea retreat to Honduras and smoke crack in a dark room. For 3 days.
You both of you, your peyote is at your desk. Yeah.
No, I was going to say
the peace pipe is outside.
I think he leaves the decision up like Aaron Rodgers to the last second.
Yeah.
He told me at 3:59, he said, "Oh, I'm doing the show."
All right. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad.
He's pulling the Aaron Rodgers that way.
Our listeners are glad you're here as well. Again, the text line is 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. Hit us up. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Salvador Perez is the captain and the cleanup hitter for the Kansas City Royals. And those are two intractable facts, by the way. Like the C is on the jersey, and when Perez's name is on the lineup card, it is in the 4 spot. So far this year, the Royals have played 41 games. Salvador Perez has batted cleanup in 38 of those 41 games. He batted third once. That was the game that they won the series opener against the Angels Friday, April 24th. That was a game where Pasquantino was out of the line. So Salvi hits cleanup. That's what he does. That's what he did all last year. It's what he's done now for a while on this Kansas City Royals team. The problem is that the job description is hitting cleanup, and Salvy's not doing a whole lot of hitting. The numbers through 39 games this year: 191 batting average, a 233 on base percentage, and a 322 slugging percentage. And the under the hood numbers are not real promising. His bat speed is down. It's been right around the same figure each last 3 years, like right at about 73 miles an hour. The bat speed is down almost 2 miles an hour this year. His hard hit percentage is down almost 6%. His average exit velocity is down 2 full miles per hour. His strikeout percentage is up almost 3%. Perez is 36 years old. He's on a bad hip that has made it difficult for him to catch every day. It might just be sunset. That is a very real possibility at this point, that Father Time has started to win the battle with the beloved Royals legend, who at a minimum is going to have his number 13 retired at the new Royals Stadium downtown, and a statue, and has a better Hall of Fame case than the dorks and the nerds, of which I am one nominally, than they want to admit. Because, he made so many outs. Yes, but those trophies are shiny, and he won a lot of them.
Yeah.
And he went to the All-Star game every year. And there's already not enough catchers in the Hall of Fame. And I'd rather have a fun guy everyone liked than Salvador Perez than a jerk no one liked like Yadier Molina in the Hall of Fame. But y'all are going to insist on Yachty in the Hall of Fame. Oh, my God, I'm not looking forward to that.
No.
I'm really not looking forward to that. But anyway, the Salvador Perez Hall of Fame discussion, that can wait. The discussion the Royals have to have about Salvador Perez right now is, how long do you give him? How long do you give him to turn it around? Because we've been here with Salvi last year. Through 47 games last season. We're through 41 this year. Through 47 games last year, he was hitting .213 with a .249 on base and an even worse slugging percentage. He was at .317 only in his first getaway day in San Francisco. He went 3 for 5, hit an opposite field home run, which for a right-hander at Oracle Park, borderline impossible.
Mm-hmm.
For the rest of the season, Perez hit .246 with a .299 on base and a .502 slugging percentage. And he ended the year with 30 homers and 100 RBI and an OPS plus right at 100. He was an average offensive player and an RBI contributor in the middle of the Kansas City order. That was last year when he was 35 and dealing with some maladies that made it difficult for him to catch every day. Like, we were seeing a lot of Freddie Fermin early, April, May of last season, the same way we're seeing a lot of Carter Jensen this year.
Mm-hmm.
So the Royals were patient with Salvi last year, and they were rewarded. How long do you give Salvi to prove that this is just a slow start before you drop him in the order? And the reason this is hard is because, as much as it's easy to sit behind a computer screen when you're playing out of the park baseball or Stratomatic and you're dealing with computer programmed things, not human beings, to just say, yes, I'm moving that collection of numbers down in the order. There's a human element to this. And it's really hard to move a franchise icon from their spot in the order.
Yeah, that's, frankly, to me, that is the only thing that makes this difficult at this point. And it's extremely important here. Like, I'm going to give you a hypothetical scenario. There was no truth to this reporting or anything. If the Royals this offseason had signed JT Realmuto and he was really struggling, okay, well, we're just going to move you to 7th. You're going to bat 8th. And
right.
It is what it is. We want a little speed 9th to reset the order, but we just, it doesn't matter.
You drop an Isaac Collins down in the order. You give less playing time to Starling Marte.
Exactly.
Those things. You DFA, like last year, Mark Canna. 135 plate appearances is not more. Can you move on?
Yeah. That's, with a player like that and a situation like that, it's whatever. It is not whatever for the guy who was the MVP of and I know the World Series was 11 years ago now, but was the MVP of your only World Series with high definition TV and many other important inventions today, like anything beyond a car phone, right? That's what we're talking about here. A guy who's been the face of your organization for a very long time. The guy who's a fan favorite, who the team loves, literally the captain, all of those things.
And there's precedent from the Royals' perspective. You have to go back to 1993. That was 41-year-old George Brett's last big league season. Never left the 3-hole. Batted in the 3-hole all season long for that Royals order. And because you're in the 3-hole, you get a lot of at-bats with runners in scoring position, right?
Right.
George hit just .214 with a .331 slug with runners in scoring position that year. And he batted all season ahead of the guys who were the two best hitters on the Royals. That wasn't an awesome offensive team, don't get me wrong. That was not an offensive juggernaut by any means. But Mike McFarland and Wally Joyner were both really good that year. And McFarland hit cleanup and Joyner hit fifth.
Yep.
The Royals were lucky to have been a winning team that year. They actually gave up more runs than they scored, but they won 84 games. They finished 10 behind Chicago. This is pre-wild card. It probably wouldn't have made the difference between a playoff berth and not. But could they have won a little bit more with some better lineup construction that year? Don't get me started on them hitting Felix Jose and his .303 on base percentage leadoff most of the season. Like, it was 1993. It was a different time.
Yeah.
But, like, George Brett batted third because George Brett batted third. And that was probably not the right thing to do for 41-year-old sub-average offensive player George Brett. Now, Brett performed that season a lot better than we've seen Salvador Perez perform to this point this season. So it's different in that perspective. But yeah, it's not as easy as just saying, well, you're not performing. We're just going to slip you down a few spots in the order. It's a hard conversation to have when it's your captain.
And that, again, is why, to me, that is the only, this is almost backing up my point here, is why the emotional part of it is the only difficult part. You know what we didn't have when George Brett was hitting .214 with runners in scoring position his last year as a pro? 12 19K cameras all over the ballpark who can measure down to the seam of the ball exactly what is happening at all times. Like, does that swing look a little slow? I mean, how fast you swing a bat? It's the blink of an eye.
Bill James was still an outcast, right?
Right. It was like, oh, what is this nerd over here doing? Like, that is what we were doing at the end of Brett's career. And frankly, until not all that long ago in the grand scheme of things. Now, we have proof, and whether you like to read about the stats, you're a Fangraph subscriber, whatever, like, the evidence is there. The bat is slower. The production is not there. He is not hitting the ball hard. That was the one thing, and you can go back to this time last year that, God, Salvi is not playing well, but he's hitting the ball hard. The process part is there. He is hitting the ball hard, and over a long period of time, on a long enough timeline, if I can sound like Fight Club for a moment, on a long enough timeline, you hit the ball hard, it is going to work out for you more often than not. Or in Salvi's case, over the final 4 months of last season, it is going to at least get you to an average MLB level when you factor in everything else. He's not hitting the ball hard. And that is the thing that is extremely scary here, because at least a year ago, you could fall back on that. And there's an element of luck. No, man, he's not hitting the ball hard, and he's not getting the bat on the ball enough. I mentioned I was digging through Baseball Reference today, and I went to you can do year-by-year splits, and they have a million different ones. I looked, one of my favorites, we've talked about this in recent years, his numbers as a batter when he's catching, when he's at first base, and when he's a DH. And over the last few years, Salvi has had more production on, a average basis as a DH than he has as a catcher. And I can understand that, because the dude is getting up there in age. That's a lot of wear and tear on the knees on days when he doesn't have to worry about that, a little freer at the plate. That's not the case anymore. He's actually hitting better as a catcher this year than as a DH. That is very worrisome to me, because, again, there's a fallback. You have an option here. You don't have that right now. And again, not hitting the ball hard. He has been, so Baseball Savant StatCast, what we have all those cameras for, they have this thing called run value. We've talked about this before, but just as a quick refresher, every pitch is measured. Okay, a ball here, a strike here, this was hit for a home run, this was a strikeout, whatever, is assigned a value. And that run value is what they call it, is tallied up over the course of the year. Salvador Perez has been more valuable as a base runner than as a batter this year. A base runner for arguably the slowest player in the league over the course of his entire career.
Yeah.
That is how bad he has been at the plate this season. And again, that might not be your favorite way to analyze baseball, but like, the data is the data. Like, we have all of this information in front of us. So to me, if he was Salvador Dali out there, It's like, okay, yeah, you're our 8-hitter, and if this keeps happening, you are our third catcher. Like, you're not in the lineup, frankly, because this is just not good enough. But you can't do that with one of the most popular and beloved and important players in the history of this franchise. And that is why I am very glad I'm not Matt Quattrero or probably JJ Piccolo, because I imagine you're going to have conversations in that part of the park as well. I am glad I am not them, because I would not like to have to make that decision at some point. But so, like, you are in the race to win the division.
Yes.
You've got a very legitimate chance to win the Comedy Central this year. So at some point, there's got to be a breaking point.
So I think that's actually the best argument for giving Perez a bit more time to get rolling, is you're not buried in the division. It is not getting late early for the 2026 Kansas City Royals. Yeah. They are just 2 games out of first place. They are 19-22 in a division with only one team with a winning record, and that team is just 1 game over 500. This is not like mission critical at this point. Like, if we don't shake up the lineup, we are going to be 9, 10, 11 games out, and there's just no road back for us. That is the argument for patience, or at least being able to afford to be patient on the matter. But I look at this lineup. We talked about this at the top of the show. I talked about it at the top of the show, that there are a lot more guys giving you something offensively in this group of players than there have been collectively the last couple of years. There is a version of this lineup that you could shake up. You can move a guy like Isaac Collins with his .352 on base percentage, or Lane Thomas with his .356 on base percentage and his good numbers against lefties. You could move one of them to the leadoff spot. You could drop Michael Garcia into the 3-hole, move Pasquantino to 4, and then Perez is batting 5th, maybe even 6th, if you want to move Jensen or Jack Caglione ahead and go lefty-lefty in the middle of the order like that. I know Quatrero's loath to do that, but he could. And you're still giving yourself a bona fide option. Like, that was the thing last year. The Royals were kind of hamstrung. It didn't really have a viable leadoff option outside of moving Garcia there, which they eventually did. Mm-hmm. But they didn't have anything else they could do to move Salvador Perez down the order. There wasn't anybody who was worthy of getting more at-bats. This Royals team has some guys who maybe could use another at-bat or two. So it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to tell Salvi, hey, you're batting 5th tonight. You're batting 6th tonight. We're going to move you down. We're going to put a little less pressure on you to get rolling, and hopefully that gets you rolling. So that's the argument for. The human element of it is that it's a hard conversation to have. And Andrew in the live chat on YouTube said it's not hard or emotional. He signed a contract. He wants to win. He's a competitor. If that's all true, he'll do what's best for the team. That's a real easy thing to say outside the clubhouse, but you're talking about a guy with a lot of pride. Obviously, a lot of pride, because when he felt like his pride was hurt, he took to not Facebook,
Instagram.
He took to Instagram and X on the same day, on platforms where all he does is reshare stuff when he felt like Matt Quattrero had wounded his pride. Yeah. And so this is a prideful guy, and it is hard to have that conversation with somebody like that. It is a difficult conversation to have. It could affect the clubhouse. It's not something that you take lightly. So I think, bottom line, that the Royals are in a spot where, they can afford to be patient. They can afford to wait and see if this is another slow start, and that Salvi, like many older players, will warm up with the weather and get back to a previously established baseline of production. But if he doesn't, they've got more options where they can pull the plug. The other part of this, too, and folks have brought this up both on the text line and in the YouTube, Carter Jensen is not covering himself in glory with the glove right now. Salvador Perez is probably the best defensive option behind the plate for the Royals. So this is not a matter of, we got to get this guy completely out of the lineup. Right now, he probably needs to be playing pretty often. He is the best defensive catcher on this roster. I've seen Elias Diaz's movies, okay? I know Salvador Perez, even at 36, even though his Gold Glove best is past him, is probably the best defensive option as you wean Carter Jensen into being a big league catcher. But he's going to be in the lineup, and he's going to have to produce. And if he doesn't produce, then after a while, I think he's got another couple of weeks before this conversation gets really serious. Then you start to think about maybe he bats 6th, maybe he bats 7th, maybe he bats even lower than that. That's not an easy thing to do.
And again, Glad I'm not them. I feel like, yes, from a baseball only, take everything out of this, numbers on a spreadsheet perspective. Yeah, you move them down, and that's just it. But it is difficult to do that. And you're right. Like, you don't want to suddenly create new problems off the field with your best player getting in a bad mood. And I understand what Andrew is saying. Like, you signed a contract. There are terms of the contract agreement. I understand all of that. But we also see like face the franchise players and highly paid players and contracted players across sports who share their displeasure one way or the other. Like Joe Burrow all offseason for the Cincinnati Bengals has been like, maybe I'll just retire. Like, maybe I don't even like football. Maybe I don't like this, even though he's gotten like everything he could ever want. And I'm saying that I love Joe Burrow. Like, we see this across sports all the time. And I think Salvy's a great guy, but also like, you don't want to overly piss him off and then have that leak out to other guys too. Like, hey, why are we treating Salvy like this?
And then what you also do is you run the risk of painting him as the reason that the team is losing or the reason that the lineup is underachieving. And then you get to looking around, like, wait a minute. Like, yeah, I know I'm struggling, but our ace has an ERA over 5 and he's on the IL. Yeah. Our 3-hole hitter's hitting 200 on the nose. Like, wait a second. Why am I being made the scapegoat here? There are certain guys you can make a scapegoat out of. Captain, legend, Salvador Perez, not the guy.
No, definitely not.
Not the guy to do if you want to keep your clubhouse. The texter not happy with all the baseball talk from the 620. It's May 12th. You get what you get. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we got What Is Wrong With You, and then we got Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain. We'll talk some football and basketball with Michael. That's coming up in about 10 minutes here on 580 Sports Talk. So what is wrong with you time on 580 Sports Talk? We've got 2 new stories competing today. Try and take down our champion from Monday. A couple of folks broke into a high school overnight in Florida, stole $50 worth of lanyards, 100 hot dogs, ice cream, and an Allen wrench set.
Good for him. I love it. Yeah, love it.
2 unidentified males.
What else do you need?
We're thinking students.
We think it had to be kids, right?
Yeah.
Because who's going to steal hot dogs, ice cream, and lanyards? Lanyards? When was the last time you rocked a lanyard?
Brother, have you seen the pocket on my bag? I've got like a million of them. I've literally got a whole Dylan's bag in my desk of them.
Well, like other than for hanging a press credential around your neck.
You got your keys in your pocket.
We're talking about like high school era. Spin your.
Oh, my! He done it. He done did it.
Do you spin them around your finger when you get bored in the back of Spanish class?
No, because I have a 17-month-old at home, and if I do that, I'll A, never get my keys back, and B, someone is going to get hurt, me or her.
My goodness.
All
right, man.
I have used the same lanyard.
That'll teach me.
I have used the same KU lanyard on my keys since I was a freshman. I think I bought it like at orientation.
I respect that. I had a DePaul University lanyard that I retired when I got an adult.
Now, I will say this. Am I rocking it like hanging out of my pocket these days?
Like attached to a chain?
No. I think back to when I was a freshman in college and was like, all right, let's get out of here, throw my keys in my pocket, make sure the lanyard's dangling all the way down to my knees.
My daily uniform, like my Grandview baseball sweats, a t-shirt, my keys around my neck on a lanyard.
See, I didn't do that one.
Nah, that was...
Mine were always in the pocket.
That was real. All right, we got 2 new stories today. Spencer, why don't you go first?
Yeah, we're going to go to Martin County, Florida. A man was arrested after a traffic stop for speeding that led to a discovery of more than 31,000 illegal pills inside the truck. What I like to call doing something illegal while doing something more illegal. The Martin County Sheriff's Office conducted a traffic stop for speeding on I-95. During the stop, the deputies discovered that driver Zoltan Ganochozi,
Sure, just call him Zoltan.
Zoltan G36 was driving on a suspended license in New York and Florida. He was placed under arrest for multiple license suspensions. During the interaction, the deputies observed signs of impairment, including profuse sweating, rapid speech, a stutter, and diluted pupils. According to MCSO, while conducting an inventory of the vehicle to be towed, deputies found a clear baggie on the driver's side door containing suspected methamphetamine. Deputies also found more than 31,000 pills concealed inside mail-style envelopes hidden in a container in the truck. He initially told deputies he was from New York and said he was, quote, just doing his job, making delivery runs. According to deputies, the pills inside included substances such as Ambien, Retroval, Luneta, and
lots of drugs.
Yeah, a lot of drugs. During the investigation, he told that he had already completed several delivery stops and was heading to additional drop-offs at the time of his arrest. He was arrested and charged with unlawful speed, DUI, possession of controlled substance, driving while suspended, 5 counts of possession with intent to sell, manufacture, deliver a controlled substance.
So yeah, this is actually a lot of crimes happening at once. Like, yeah, man, that's what I do. I deliver drugs. I'm like,
that's what I do.
I'm like DoorDash. I'm Drug Dash. That's what I do, guys.
Yeah.
And if you could just let me carry on my merry way, not how that's going to work.
Yeah.
My story, I had meant to do this one on Monday, but I saw the ice cream theft story. This one went viral over the weekend. Some rich D-bag from Seattle, Washington was in Hawaii and threw a rock at a seal, an endangered monk seal.
I saw this.
On Maui, on the island. Apparently there's video of him doing it. There's also video of him getting the crap beaten out of him by bystanders.
Good.
Which, shout out to the bystanders. The video that is, obviously we can't show visual medium, not a visual medium, but the video, somebody on the video says he got what he deserved. He threw a big ass rock at a sea lion and proceeded to say, "I'm rich, I can pay the fines." On top of that, he shoved my girlfriend, and an unidentified gentleman began wailing on him during the course of the video. The government of Maui is looking to take legal action against the offender. Maui Mayor Richard Bisson said, quote, "By now we've all heard about the disturbing incident against our friend Lonnie, the Hawaiian monk seal. Like many in our community, I was shocked by what happened. Lonnie is not just a seal to us. Many of our residents know her, watch over her, and care deeply about her." It does not appear that the seal was severely injured, thank goodness. The mayor continued, "Let me be clear, this is not the type of visitor we welcome on Maui. Behavior like this will not be tolerated. There must be consequences. Lonnie, we have your back." Listen, it is one thing to throw a rock at local wildlife. It is obviously a jerk move, like a terrible thing to do. If that wildlife, if that animal has a name, you really messed up.
Yeah.
When I was in Maui, very quick story here. When I was in Maui, we were literally right across the road from the beach on our honeymoon. And we go over there, and there was this kind of like row of rocks about, 20 feet away from the shore. And one morning, we were out there for a walk. We saw turtles just basking out there.
Sure.
So we walk not close to them at all. I'm not going to go touch a wild turtle, but we walk out into the water to get a better look at them. And locals were like, hey, you two, out of there, like yelling at us. And we weren't even touching them. I was like, that's fine. Like, if that's how we do things here, that's fine. I'm not going to argue it. I can't imagine, like, you know what would be fun? Hitting that turtle with a rock. Like,
yeah, like what kind of person
this
you
is the
gotta
winner
be
for today, because like what circuits in your brain had to connect to make you think, oh, good idea, throw rock at thing?
I'm going to throw a rock at this seal doing nothing, just chilling off the shore.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at the majesty of nature in this beautiful place on this beautiful island. This animal is close to the shore. I get a close-up look at an animal. I don't get to see this every day. I'm going to throw a rock at it.
Yeah,
and who cares if anybody saw me do it? Because I'm rich.
So I'm going to vote for this today, but I also find this gentleman so loathsome that I'm actually going to vote for Brendan Jr. as our retaining weekly champ.
Yeah, it's one of those that like it's so bad that you don't want to revisit
I hate
it
this
again.
guy.
Which I understand that compulsion. And hey, listen, he got his comeuppance. Somebody kicked his ass on
That's
camera.
true. Yeah, we don't get a lot of that in the same story.
And people know his name, and they know what kind of businesses he runs. And up in Seattle, people are already starting to not do business with this guy.
PFA'd and FO'd.
Yes, he certainly did. Do not, especially if the animal in question has a name.
No kidding.
You really can't do it then. But we will continue on with our kids stealing the hot dogs and the ice cream and the lanyards as our champion on What Is Wrong With You. Michael Swain of Fog.net is next for Jayhawk Weekly. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. This is Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk. We do it every Tuesday at this time. Talk all things Jayhawks with Michael. And we begin with some football recruiting news. KU has their quarterback for the 2027 high school class, Californian Chance Thomas, committed yesterday. What kind of player are the Jayhawks getting in Chance Thomas, Michael?
Yeah, I think a really good prospect. You can look at kind of his high school recruitment, and he's had a lot of good offers come in. And I think what you find a lot of times in quarterback recruiting is kind of after sophomore year into junior year is when a lot of them really get their offers. And then schools kind of all end up recruiting the same guys. And then slowly but surely kind of, a school gets a guy and then that eliminates them. And then, other ones prioritize others. And when they figure out they're out, then they move down the chain a little bit. So, Chance in terms of a prospect, I think has a lot of traits that you can really work with. He's a really good athlete. I don't know if he's like a incredible sprinter like Isaiah Marshall was during his high school time, but I think Chance has great mobility. And if you go look at his high school tape, he does such a good job with his quick agility and using kind of some of his quick short area bursts to be able to extend plays, get out of the pocket, make guys miss in the open field. And so I really like that part of his game. You can look at his tape, and if you only watch the first couple of clips, right, it's a lot of deep passes, and that's something that he is really good at is completing some of those deep passes. Obviously, he gets college, and you got to be able to be super precise in that, but he's someone that is not afraid to push the ball down the field. So I think you can look at it, and people will obviously say, hey, Southern California quarterback going to Kansas. What about Jalen Daniels? Like, I don't hate the comparison just generally if you're describing very broadly what is Chance Thomas. I think that there might be a little more long-term upside there with his natural size compared to Jalen, but I really think this is a really good addition for KU at the quarterback spot, and to get him at this point in the cycle, I think is really important because KU now, has maybe nine or 10 spots left. And so you're going to now be able to go and talk to wide receivers and other offensive linemen and talk to them about, hey, this is the quarterback you're playing with. How exciting is this? And so I think you put that all together, and I think it's a really good addition at an important time for KU.
Is that why this staff, Lance Leipold's staff, has tended to try to get their quarterback in a class early for the sake of recruiting at other offensive positions with that quarterback prospect in mind?
Yeah, well, I think it's one of those where any college coach would tell you they want that. They would love to have the first commit be a quarterback. And because of the situation I kind of outlined, right, with quarterbacks and the way the offers work and all of that, like, I think quarterbacks are maybe a little bit more willing to be the first commit and to commit early. You can look at some of the more recent classes, last year or last cycle, it was Jalen Mason committing during the 2024 season. Before that, it was David McComb committing before his junior season. And before that, Isaiah Marshall committed in, February 1st, I believe it was, of his junior year of high school before his senior year. So you're looking at the last couple cycles, and KU really has done a good job of kind of honing in on their key target and getting them early. And so I think this one is maybe, the latest KU has had a quarterback addition since Ethan Vasco, which was after Leipold's first season in 2021. He signed January 22 as a member of the 22 class. So generally, KU's done a great job of being able to kind of hone in on the quarterback targets they want, getting them on board. Things worked maybe slightly differently this year, but KU landed on Thomas in the end. And like I said, I think it's a good addition.
Michael Swain is our guest. He covers the Kansas Jayhawks better than anybody over at fog.net and 24/7 Sports. Joining us here, as he does every Tuesday, for Jayhawk Weekly on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. So, to that point, Michael, with the quarterback now taken care of for the next class, great. And we know KU loves to do that. What's next? What's the move from this point now that Thomas is on board?
Yeah, so offensively for KU, there are limited spots. There's kind of one more wide receiver spot. I believe it's going to be one high school tight end. And then it's going to be, I believe, maybe one or two more offensive linemen. So at the moment, there's kind of a little bit of a lull here over the next couple of weeks as we kind of get closer to that really busy June official visit period. And then what you'll see is really kind of the first 2 weekends of June, June 5th and June 12th are going to be the big weekends when KU brings in a lot of those prospects. And I think KU is going to try and knock out some of its needs during that time. I'm not sure in terms of offensive players if anything really is imminent outside of that, but I think you can look at defense, and KU is trying to get some of those defensive needs. They're going to take two high school linebackers, two defensive ends, one defensive tackle, and then multiple defensive backs. So I think they're trying to maybe move some things along at linebacker or defensive end kind of before that first June 5th visit weekend, because they had some guys come through earlier this month. We'll have to kind of see how things play out. This is kind of the weird kind of dance you have to do now with high school recruiting, where you host kids in early May, and most of them have visits again in late May. Sometimes they want to wait, and you got to kind of figure out, okay, are they waiting to take one visit and then committing to KU, or are they going to go take 3 or 4 more visits and they're not signed until the end of June? If that's the case, then you have to move on to other players. And so I think that's kind of the balance case trying to strike right now.
Flipping over from football recruiting to the hardwood, late last week, KU brought in what appears to be another solid rotation piece in Dennis Parker Jr. Started his career with a couple of seasons as a rotational guy and didn't play a ton at North Carolina State. Then last year blew up when he was at Radford, had a 50-point game. Bill Self mentioned that in his official release about the signing earlier this week. What do you think about Dennis Parker Jr. and his fit with the Jayhawks?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's one of those where you can look at his season at Radford and you're like, okay, microwave score, right? Someone that really did do a good job of putting the ball in the basket. You know, you score 53 in a D1 game. Doesn't really matter who it's against, right? That shows you they can get hot. But then you go back and look at what he was at NC State, and it was actually more of like a defensive stopper, rebounder type, where a lot of his defensive metrics were really good, and a lot of that carried over last year. So, you know, what is his role going to be? Well, I think from a baseline level, like defensively, I think you're going to expect him to play at a good level, right? He's got good size, 6'6", over 200 pounds. So he's a well-built guy. You watch him play on tape, and he does like to attack off the bounce as well. So you think about the role that he could play if you're going to have the ball in, you know, Leroy Blyden or Talon Kinney or Tyron Stokes' hands. You need guys who can move off the ball. And so I think that, you know, I think he could provide some of that. And then obviously the key thing for this edition, if it's going to work as well as it could, he's got to shoot the 3 well. He didn't shoot it super good at NC State and then really improved last year at Radford. So that's going to be the big question for him is, can he continue that? And I think if you want to be encouraged, right? Trey White was someone that, you know, never shot above 33% and last year shot 40%. So sometimes these guys can kind of find something in, whether it's confidence, whether it's form, technique, you know, I really don't know, but I think the 3-point shooting is a part of this edition that you need to have hit, because that's what you're kind of banking on being the real kind of rotation elevator. That's kind of what's going to help you there. Because if not, then you're still looking at and say, okay, you can provide some defense, some rebounding, some slashing, but then you're still running into maybe some spacing concerns if you're going to play a non-shooting 5, or if Keanu Dawes doesn't take a big step forward shooting the 3 as well. So I like the addition. Good player to take a swing on. Certainly like him a lot more than, you know, Bashir or Victorious Miller, who KU was on. He's definitely got a little more all-around game and feels more like a Bill Self player than maybe one of those two.
It's hard to predict today on May 12th what a lineup is going to look like on November 12th or whatever the first day of the season is going to be. But right now, just the way this roster is shaken out with the 2 returning guys, both young, they'll just be sophomores next year, all the freshmen coming in. How young do you think this starting lineup is going to be?
How young? I think fairly. I think you're going to see, you know, we got to see how Christian Reeves is doing and what kind of his return to play timetable is like. But I think theoretically it could be a Reeves-Dawes front court. I think that's a really experienced duo you have there. Tyron Stokes, freshman, starting at the 3. I think that's pretty much locked in. And then, you know, Leroy Blyden's probably going to be, you know, your starter, and he'll hopefully a true sophomore. And that's a question of, okay, is it Talon Kinney who starts, or is it, you know, Dennis Parker Jr. who maybe comes in and, you know, maybe when the starting job is like a 2 guard? I don't know. But I think generally speaking, I think you're pretty much looking at KU starting definitely 1 freshman, potentially 2, and then having kind of a sophomore and 2 seniors in the front court. And then the bench is kind of where you're looking at and saying, you know, there's definitely some youth there.
The addition most recently for KU, even beyond Dennis Parker Jr., Atticus Richmond, who unsurprisingly at one point was committed to Columbia, but now is going to end up at KU instead. This is an end-of-the-bench player. I mean, I don't think anybody realistically thinks this is going to be a contributor long-term for this KU team. But I did want to say this. So Bill Self, in his comments about him today, compared him to Mitch Lightfoot. That's really disrespectful to Mitch, right? Like, look, they're both tall, scrawny white dudes. Like that's the comparison as far as I can tell. Mitch was a top 100 recruit and a rotation piece on a national title team. Like that seems like a really lofty comparison for a kid who's probably only going to play 6 games this year.
Yeah, and I'm still waiting for Jaden Dawson to win KU game in March.
Right.
So, yeah, look, if you're not going to trash guys in a release, that's the thing. So I understand, where the comparison comes from, right? Because you can also draw some lines to, Richmond comes from a KU family. Mitch Lightfoot came from a KU family. I think that's one of the things that's cool about this edition, right? The fact that he, grew up in a KU family, and that's probably why you put Columbia and a potential degree from there on the back burners to go play at your dream school. So I think that part of his addition is really cool. I don't think he'll be playing as a freshman or sophomore, right? Like Mitch Lightfoot did. So I understand why Self made the comparison and where it comes from. But yeah, I think you're looking at Mitch Lightfoot's high school profile, and he took official visits to a bunch of other high major schools like Arizona, I think USC as well. And it's a little bit different, but I think it's one of those where this end of the bench piece, right? In this new age, you got to find guys who want to come in and really compete and work, and who can be kind of your practice players because the way the walk-on deal works now. So look, I think it's a great opportunity for Richmond and his family to be able to see him play at Kansas, and for him to be able to be part of the program. It's a really, really cool opportunity.
On the baseball front, real quick before we wrap things up, Michael, is the dream of a Lawrence Regional dead after this past weekend against West Virginia?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely doesn't help. And I will tell you this, going into the weekend, I was like, oh, all right, West Virginia, okay, you should be okay. And then kind of check in on Sunday, and it's like, oh, dang, this did not go the way I thought it was going to. Yeah, probably. I wouldn't maybe say completely dead, but yeah, it seems a whole lot less likely than it did on Friday.
Michael Swain covers Kansas Jayhawk athletics for Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, and he joins us every Tuesday at this time on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael, it's always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Awesome. Sounds great. Talk to you guys next week.
That is Michael Swain. We'll take a timeout, come back, and put a wrap on this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Our thanks again to Michael Swain of Fog.net for joining us for Jayhawk Weekly. Glad you brought that up, Brendan. The comparison in today's press release about Atticus Richmond's signing with KU basketball, the comparison to Mitch Lightfoot does seem a little mean to Mitch Lightfoot. And I don't say that to be mean to Atticus Richmond, but there's a pretty big gap in how those players were considered coming out of high school.
Right. And like, I agree with Michael totally. He's a KU. In fact, I believe it's Atticus Richmond's aunt was actually honored by the voice of the Jayhawks, Topeka's own Brian Haney. He does his cancer warrior before every game. He writes their name on his headset. It's Brian's like the nicest guy who's ever lived. It's a really cool thing he does. His aunt, I believe it was actually one of his honorees for a game recently. Like they love KU, and it's an awesome story for him. And I hope at some point he does, grow and play. He was originally committed to Columbia. Mitch Lightfoot had offers to like Utah and St. John's and Arizona State, and was a borderline top 100 prospect.
I know he became a four-star kid.
I know he became a meme at KU. You know who else was in his recruiting class? Udoka Azubuike and Josh Jackson. Okay, no wonder he was an afterthought in that class. 2 first-round picks in the NBA, including one of the most beloved players of recent memory. And people forget how good Josh Jackson was in college. So Mitch was a rotation, a 7-man rotation that won a national title. He was in the rotation.
The other thought I have.
I never thought I would be defending Mitch Lightfoot like this, but he contributed to a title team.
The only other thought I have on Atticus Richmond is please get a basketball number, because he's in the press release in the graphic wearing number 88. And that might be the worst possible basketball number.
Yeah.
That's.
I mean, he's 6'10". I mean, does Leipold need a tight end? That's a tight end number right there.
It's absolutely a tight end.
Red zone weapon?
Perhaps.
Consider it
the new James
Sosinski.
Yes. Man, it's always good to have Brendan in the box. We got a 5 o'clock hour coming up. Headlines, playoff roundup, random question Tuesday, and more on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday evening. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis, rocking with you on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our streaming video channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube and WIBW News on Facebook. One more hour to spend together, then we'll toss it to the Royals Baseball Network for pregame coverage from the south side of Chicago. 6-game, 2-city road trip for the Royals begins tonight in Chicago against the White Sox. First pitch is set for 6:40. Eric Fetty, left-hander for the White Sox. Stephen Kolek, right-hander for the Royals. Your starting pitching matchup. And pregame coverage again starting at 6 o'clock from the Royals Baseball Network right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We'll get to some preview of that series coming up in a little bit in this final hour of the show. The White Sox no longer the American League's baseball joke. They're actually in second place in the American League Central as play begins today.
Well, is the American League Central the joke?
No, it's the Angels are legitimately bad.
I mean, yes, but
That's
still the Central's record isn't great.
It is not great, but neither is the West. The West is pretty much in the same spot, and the West has two teams that are worse than anybody in the Central. The Central might be reaching peak parity / mediocrity, to be sure, but would I say that's the worst division in baseball right now? No, right now it's the American League West. And the White Sox at 19-21, I think have at least proven that they are not probably going to go 43-119 again like they did 2 years ago. They are a much more serious baseball concern, even if I'm not ready to call them good. They are at least moving in a positive direction. That was not really something you could say about them the last 2 years. We'll reintroduce you to the White Sox, who are 2-2 against the Royals this season. The two teams met back in April, and the White Sox won the first and last games of a 4-game series. Royals won the two in the middle by identical 2-0 scores. So we'll get some baseball later on this hour. We've also got Random Question Tuesday coming up this hour as well. Have some fun with that. Also, of course, your 580 Sports Talk headlines and a playoff roundup for you within. So all that coming up here in the 5 o'clock hour of the show. We do want to hear from you. The text line is open. 785-272-9429 is the text line number if you'd like to weigh in on anything we're talking about today. 785-272-9429. You can also hop into the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Again, we are streaming live on our YouTube channel. We do it every day. When we are on the air, we are on video. So you can catch us on video and hop in the live chat during the live broadcast of the show. Interact amongst yourselves with your fellow listeners. Help grow that 580 Sports Talk community. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the YouTube, today's a great day to do so. Every day is a great day to do it if you haven't done it yet. Get us closer to the 1,000 subscriber mark. We're knocking at the door. So we're looking for you to subscribe to get us closer today. If you have not done so, it doesn't cost you anything but a click or a tap. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. We got a lot of headlines to get to today, so let's go ahead and hop in. Did want to make sure that we mention this. This news broke in the 5 o'clock hour yesterday, so when we typically do headlines, but weren't quite sure as the show went on that there was quite an appropriate way to bring this up. But we did want to mention this. This news came out yesterday, so you've likely heard it by now. But an all-time K-State great passed away on Sunday. Jim Colbert, a 1991 inductee into the K-State Athletics Hall of Fame, passed away at the age of 85. If you played Colbert Hills, that is his golf course, the one that he designed in Manhattan, and will be his long-term golfing legacy in Manhattan. Colbert initially arrived to Kansas State on a football scholarship back in 1961, but when injuries derailed his gridiron future, Colbert picked up golf and changed the course of his life. He was a 3-year letter winner in golf, a runner-up in the 1964 NCAA championship, and a longtime player on the PGA Tour. Played 22 years professionally, 14 years on the PGA Tour, was an 8-time winner on the tour, and won nearly $1.5 million. A very different time, the 60s through 80s in professional golf. $1.5 million. Whoever wins the PGA Tour, PGA Championship this weekend is going to take home about twice that. More than twice that, actually. So, but Colbert went on to become a golf course, run a golf course management company, and also worked for ESPN. He is most notable for developing Colbert Hills Golf Club, one of the finest courses in the state of Kansas, that opened in 2000. Colbert was also inducted into the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame back in 1998, made 28 cuts in 44 career majors, a K-Stater, and a well-regarded member of the Kansas State community. Jim Colbert passed away on Sunday at the age of 85. A hail and farewell to a great Wildcat, Jim Colbert. Next headline, Spencer. We got some confirmed NFL schedule leaks today.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really say.
Well, not today, but just we did get some today, but this is what we've got so far.
Yeah, I wouldn't really call them leaks because the networks are putting them out. Themselves.
Yes.
So they're announcing them as part of their let's push out the advertisers for next year's networks. The Chiefs, I believe, while you were on the air, they confirmed that they are hosting the Week 1 Monday Night Football matchup that was announced this morning by Joe Buck on Good Morning America in Week 1 against the Broncos. Everybody was thinking it was going to be in Denver, but it kind of fits that it'll be in Kansas City.
No, Bronco fans were whining about it being in Denver. Let's be clear about what that was. That was Bronco fans saying, we deserve to open at home because we won the division last year. And we want to hang a banner for being an AFC championship game participant. It was just whiny Bronco fan behavior, typical of them. That's what that was.
All right. As somebody that grew up there, you could say that. So
yes, yeah. I can say that. I can say it, and I will say it.
All right. Well, the Bills will open the new Highmark Stadium in Week 2 for Thursday Night Football against the Lions. That is the first game for Thursday Night Football's prime package. And then Week 1, we have the Melbourne, Australia game, which is Thursday, right?
No, that'll be yeah, you're right. That will be Thursday because the Seahawks will open on Wednesday.
It'll be
against an opponent to be determined.
Thursday the 10th, 49ers with the Rams designated the home team. And then Sunday Night Football Week 1 was already announced on NBC yesterday during their upfronts. Cowboys or the Giants hosting the Cowboys. We said that yesterday. And then I just said Week 2, Thursday Night Football. And then Week 3 in Rio, Ravens with the Cowboys being designated the home team. Week 9 in Madrid, the Bengals against the designated home team, the Falcons. And we know Fox's 3:30 afternoon Thanksgiving game, that is Eagles at Cowboys. That is what we know for the NFL schedule. The NFL schedule set to release Thursday.
We'll probably get a couple of more drips and drops over the next 48 to 46-ish hours. I don't know when
CBS
exactly.
Hasn't really said anything yet for they usually get to announce a big one. So we might hear that tomorrow.
I'm a little surprised we're not getting Chiefs Bills early. League might be holding that. Obviously, it's not going to be either Week 1 or Week 2.
We're probably waiting to make sure Pat's back.
Well, if that was a concern, I don't think they would have put the Chiefs on Monday night Week 1. The Chiefs Bills has been more of a mid-season game, but I kind of thought they might try to get that one in a little earlier this week. But anyhow, that's your NFL schedule news. Next headline, boy, I got all the sad ones today. A very sad story developing in the NBA today. Memphis Grizzlies forward Brandon Clark was found dead today at the age of just 29. LAPD sources confirmed to ABC News that Clark was found dead from a possible drug overdose on Monday in a home located in the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles. Narcotics were found at the scene. There was no evidence of foul play. Clark rose to prominence at Gonzaga, was an All-American at Gonzaga, was a member of the all-rookie team with the Grizzlies in the 2019-2020 season, played his entire career with the Grizzlies, but missed much of the last 2 seasons due to injury, played just 2 games this last year. He was arrested April 1st in Arkansas for speeding and possession of a controlled substance that was reportedly kratom, which is a herbal supplement that becomes illegal in Tennessee as of July 1st. He was released on bond a day after that. A statement from his agency, Priority Sports, read, "We are all beyond devastated by the passing of Brandon Clark. He was so loved by all of us here and everyone whose life he touched. He was the gentlest soul who was the first to be there for all his friends and family. Our hearts are broken as we think about his mom, Whitney, his entire family, and all of his friends and teammates. From high school to San Jose State to Gonzaga to the Grizzlies, Brandon impacted everyone who was part of his life. Everyone loved BC because he was always there as the most supportive friend you could ever imagine. He was so unique in the joy he brought to all of those in his life. It's just impossible to put into words how much he'll be missed." He was a prominent member of the Memphis community, did a lot of charity work off the court, and found dead today of a suspected drug overdose in Los Angeles. Brandon Clark of the Memphis Grizzlies, dead at 29. Very sad news today. Next headline, Spencer.
Yes. Where do I want to go? All right, we'll go here. The College Sports Commission wins NIL arbitration case brought by Nebraska football players. It's the first major test of authority to enforce salary cap in college sports Monday. Late Monday, when an arbitrator upheld the fledgling agency's decision to deny a set of deals involving Nebraska football players. The case concerned millions of dollars in payments to a group of 18 Cornhuskers players from Playfly Sports, a marketing firm that secures sponsorship opportunities for Nebraska and a dozen other high-profile athletic departments. The College Sports Commission, obviously, we know, was created last year to police how college athletes are paid, blocked the deals in March, and defended its decision at arbitration hearing in late April.
So what happened with the House settlement, right, was that was supposed to be the end of the NIL collective. Yeah. So you had these NIL collectives. They were working outside of the institutions, outside the universities and colleges, and they were set to arrange NIL contracts, options for players. Well, with the House settlement and revenue sharing, all of that was supposed to be brought in-house. So there weren't supposed to be any outside NIL deals with a broker, essentially. Well, Playfly they're the media rights holders for Nebraska.
It's like Learfield,
yes,
which
they are
here, which is K-State.
Yes, so like Playfly is to Nebraska's media as Learfield is to Kansas and Kansas State. And so the ruling here is that Playfly was acting as an outside NIL broker, that your media rights company cannot also be arranging NIL contracts. The story goes on to note that Nebraska's players have the option to resubmit new contracts from Playfly that comply with the rules. Brian Seeley, who is the CEO of the College Sports Commission, says that he expects them to do so. Schools are allowed with the House settlement to spend up to $20.5 million per year in direct payments to their athletes. And many programs are trying to bridge the gap between that salary cap, effectively, and what is realistically needed to build a competitive college football roster, because we know that the going rate for those is a little closer to $30 million, maybe even $40 million. And programs are trying to arrange what are referred to in the article as above the cap payments to players, endorsement deals between players and boosters or other associated entities that function in reality as a subversion of the college sports salary cap. So this win in court for the College Sports Commission is the first big win for the idea that a salary cap can exist in college athletics, that you cannot go above or beyond the established $20.5 million per year allowance from the House settlement to pay your players. And the proponents of a salary cap, it's the same thought process with signing salary caps in professional sports. If everybody's operating under the same budget, then that doesn't give an advantage to schools that have a lot more money or a disadvantage to schools who have a lot less money. However, notes this story, the enforcement victory could be short-lived. The plaintiff attorneys from the House case have asked a judge overseeing that settlement to review how the College Sports Commission is applying the new rules. The attorneys argue in court documents the settlement's rules that block boosters from funneling money to athletes should not apply to companies like Playfly. So the idea is, well, if it's your media rights partner, it's okay if they arrange some deals for you.
Yeah.
We just want to get rid of the bag man.
They literally are contracted through the university.
Right.
Whereas the collectives aren't necessarily contracted through the university. They could be created by the money man.
There's also this specific to Nebraska. The attorney general of the state could sue the College Sports Commission because there is a state law in Nebraska that prohibits any college sports governing body from punishing athletes for accepting money from a third party. The players are likely to resubmit their deals with more specific terms, according to sources familiar with their plans, which means any state legal action is not likely to happen soon. So we are a long way from the resolution of this story, but it is the first win, if you want to call it that, if you want to speak in that particular language. It is the first win for the idea of a salary cap in college athletics, which is what the House settlement and revenue sharing was sort of designed to enact and bring about. Is it going to hold up long-term in court? I frankly have my doubts, but that's where things currently stand. That's why that's a noteworthy ruling in the courts. Let's get one final headline before we get to the playoff roundup. You watch Ted Lasso, Spencer?
I do not.
You're not an Apple TV Plus subscriber?
Nope.
I have seen all 3 seasons of Ted Lasso. I found season 1 to be one of the most enjoyable things I had watched on television. Season 2, still pretty good. Season 3 kind of stunk. Can we be honest? Out there, listeners, if you watch season 3 of Ted Lasso, it wasn't very good. And now they're going to do a season 4 because Jason Sudeikis owes Olivia Wilde a lot of child support. That's why they're doing season 4. And I know Jason Sudeikis is a Kansan. He's a KC guy.
He filmed part of season 4 in Kansas, in Kansas City.
Yes, there have been lots of references to the Kansas City area in the show. So I know locally it is a favorite of a lot of people. But diminishing returns on the show and a season 4 that doesn't need to exist except Jason Sudeikis owes a lot of child support. Anyhow, one of the breakout characters of Ted Lasso was the character of Danny Rojas, the delightful Spanish-speaking player played by actor Cristo Fernandez. Well, in an instance of life imitating art, Cristo Fernandez is now himself a professional soccer player. He signed today for El Paso Locomotive, a team in the USL Championship. That is, if the MLS is the big leagues, the USL Championship is like the second biggest, most prominent professional soccer league in the United States. He was on a 2-month trial with the club and ultimately was signed to a contract and will play forward like his character, Danny Rojas, on the TV show. Locomotive coach Junior Gonzalez said Cristo is a great addition to our roster, adding another attacking threat. His passion for the game, football is life, and leadership qualities for our locker room allow us to continue growing the positive culture we strive for as a club. Fernandez actually played for a Mexican team at the youth level, but was injured and quit the sport at age 15. He'll look to give a boost to the 4th place team in the USL Championship's Western Conference, saying himself in a statement, "Football has always been a huge part of my life and identity, and no matter where life has taken me, the dream of competing professionally never truly left my heart. I'm incredibly grateful to El Paso Locomotive FC for opening the doors and giving me the opportunity to compete from day one." This is kind of wild.
Yeah.
Like, it's like if this is a dated reference. You know the movie Little Big League? Like if the actor who played Mickey Scales had like gotten an Atlantic League contract, like Tony Todd, who was legitimately a pretty nice baseball player. I think he might have played in college and was always like really good in the celebrity softball game there for a while. Like Tony Todd was taking it real seriously. He played Mickey Scales. He was the light hitting second baseman. Hit a big home run in one of the games. Touch them all, Mickey Scales. It's a great movie. Yeah. Little Big League still holds up to this day. I think that's the best. There were a whole bunch of sports movies made for kids in the 90s, and I would argue Little Big League holds up better than just about any of them, up to and including The Sandlot, which I probably like the most, but Little Big League holds up really well. Anyway.
Sandlot's my favorite.
What's that? Sandlot's probably my favorite too, but man, Little Big League holds up really, really well. Anyhow, let's get to a playoff roundup, shall we?
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
We'll start with hockey. There was just one game last night in Minnesota, Game 4 of the Western Conference semifinals. The Colorado Avalanche got go-ahead goals. They needed a pair of them in a wild third period, but they got them from their third and fourth lines. Parker Kelly gets the winner, a pair of empty netters in the final minute. Give the Avalanche a 5-2 win at Minnesota and a 3-1 series lead. The goalie change the Avalanche made ended up bearing fruit. Mackenzie Blackwood stopped 19 wild shots in the win. It was total domination. Even though the game was closer than the 5-2 score, it also wasn't that close. For about the first 35 minutes of hockey, I think shots were like 20-4 in Colorado's favor. They probably should have been winning 4 or 5-1 at the end of the second period. They totally dominated the game, and they take a 3-1 series lead back to Colorado for Game 5, trying to do something they have not done since 2008, clinch a playoff series on home ice. Almost 20 years since they've clinched a playoff series. And remember, they've won a Stanley Cup in that time frame. They didn't win any of those series at home. First round was a sweep. They were the higher seed. Second round, they won in 6 as the higher seed. Swept the conference finals as the higher seed, and then won in 6 against Tampa when they did not have home ice. So all of those series they won on their way to the Cup in 2022. They won on the road. Haven't clinched a series on home ice since 2008 when they beat, coincidentally, the Minnesota Wild. 3-1 Avs in that series. Tonight, Montreal looks to take full command of their series against Buffalo. The Canadians are at home with a 2-1 series lead over the Sabres, who themselves are making a goaltender switch. And if you think me mentioning that is an excuse to say the name Ukko-Pekka Lakonen on the radio, well, buddy, you're right. I'm going to say it again. Ukko-Pekka Lakonen. That'll be the goaltender for the Sabres tonight. Also, it's Game 5 in Vegas between the Golden Knights and the Ducks. That series is tied at 2, which means tonight's Game 5 is pivotal. There we go. The NBA last night, Donovan Mitchell very nearly set a new NBA playoff record for points and a half. He scored 39 second-half points, had 43 in the game as the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Detroit Pistons 112-103 in Cleveland. That series is even up at 2 games apiece. Out west, the Los Angeles Lakers put up a fight, but couldn't hang on late. The Oklahoma City Thunder win 115-110 in L.A. and complete the sweep. Brendan was telling me that if they delay, if San Antonio, Minnesota goes 7 and they start the Western Conference Finals as late as possible, it'll be something like the Thunder will have played 8 games in like 35 days.
Wow.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah. 35 points for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He shot 15 free throws, of course, because he's a free throw merchant, but he had 35 in the win for the Thunder. LeBron James, 24 points, 12 rebounds, probably his last game as a Laker. Maybe his last game ever. I kind of don't think so. I think he'll hang on. He can still play. I think he'll hang on for one more year, but I don't think it will be as a Laker. I was talking about this with Brendan off the air. Like, the Lakers obviously were without their actual best player, Luka Doncic. And as much as I pile on Austin Reeves, he's one of their top 3 players on that roster. And he was out for the first round, most of the first round, and compromised by injury throughout the playoffs. For the Lakers to have won a series and to have competed against the Thunder, that would be like a moral victory, nice little playoff run to celebrate if they were any other team but the Lakers.
Yeah.
When you're the Lakers, you don't get moral victory playoff runs. You don't get, that was nice. It was a nice little run. I enjoyed that. Nah, you're the Lakers. You don't get to do that. You either win a championship or you failed. You're failures again, Lakers. Tonight, Game 5 in San Antonio, Wolves, Spurs. Wemby's not suspended, so he'll play in a Game 5. That, because the series is tied at 2, is pivotal. That's our playoff roundup. We'll come back with Random Question Tuesday next on 580 Sports Talk. Welcome back to 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer with you. Text from the 913 asked if I think LeBron will finish his career in Cleveland. That's probably the most likely path, although if LeBron wants to give a ring one more try, I can think of one team that could use a little bit of size and playmaking, some ball handling ability, some toughness. Come play with Nikola Jokic on a vet min, LeBron. Take a vet man. We'll even trade a second rounder for Bronny. Come on to Denver, LeBron. Play with the genius. You've called Nikola Jokic a genius. Come play with a genius. Come play with a genius for your last year. Come win a ring in Denver. That's what I want. That's not going to happen. I think that would be fun. Random Question Tuesday. Since we're on the topic, we got on the topic there a little bit of TV shows, sports television shows, and then sports kids movies. What is the one that you think still holds up the best? Kids sports movies that you remember watching as a child that you still enjoy every bit as much as an adult?
I said it, Sandlot.
You still rocking with the Sandlot?
Yeah.
When was the last time you watched Sandlot?
Last summer.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Man, it's been a while since I've watched it. I would happily, that's part of the fun thing about having kids is you get to introduce them to the stuff that you thought was cool when you were a kid. Yeah. So I'm looking forward, Asher's got to get a little older. Right now, all he wants to watch is like trucks on YouTube. He just wants to watch videos of trucks, garbage trucks, dump trucks, just trucks. That's all he wants to watch. I don't think there are any trucks in the Sandlot, at least not to my knowledge. But so I don't think he's real interested. But eventually, I'm excited to be able to share that one with him. That's a really good one. Another vote for Sandlot for the 913. Vote for Sandlot for Mark B. Paul in with a vote. The Rookie. That's a solid one. I don't know if that's rated PG, but I think it's different from being a kid's movie.
I think Sandlot's probably rated PG.
Yeah, Sandlot's PG. But there's a difference between
kissing scene, the
yeah,
pool scene.
Like
that was a little.
That's probably the part of it that doesn't hold up real well. Like, you
Yeah.
can't do that to girls. You can't kiss them without their consent. That's not real cool. Not real cool, Squints. But hey, at least they had a happy ending. They got married and had 9 kids. Sorry if I spoiled it. Is that what they had, 9 kids? Was that the punchline?
Yeah.
Bertram got really into the 60s and nobody ever saw him again.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And a lot of them hold up. We had one texter from the 913 said my son used to watch all the Mighty Ducks movies on a weekly basis. I'll confess, I don't think I saw the third one another time after I watched it the first time. I just like to pretend that one doesn't really exist because it doesn't make any sense that the junior Goodwill Games champions would all show up on the same high school campus and be JV? Excuse me? I'm sorry? Come on, give me a break. But no, Mighty Ducks 1, Mighty Ducks 2, yeah, those are good flicks. Those are quality. Except I got a problem with Gordon Bombay's coaching. Which leads me to, I guess, another random question. What do you have the most trouble? Like, which sports movie would you nitpick the most? Like, give me a nitpick from a sports movie, either action wise or coaching wise, or because I'll give you a nitpick. There's no way in hell Goldberg should have been the goalie for Team USA in Mighty Ducks 2. He was a total liability. Julie the Cat Gaffney was the better goaltender and should have been in net. How do you give up 2 goals to Trinidad and Tobago? Come on. It should have been the Cat all the way through the tournament. I don't think they would have allowed a goal. They wouldn't have lost to Iceland as bad as they did the first time. I'm telling you that right now.
I guess, like, I don't know if this is nitpicking. This is nitpicking from a point of view in which that knows what happened and how Hollywood adapted it.
Mm-hmm.
We Are Marshall. Just certain things in We Are Marshall that it's like the Hollywood adapted it a certain way where it really didn't happen. Like, there was no star football player dating the cheerleader that was dad was the head of the board of governors.
Mm-hmm.
So
you would have liked that story to be a little bit more true to life.
Yeah.
I understand.
But you would have to have most movies you add a love connection in.
Sure.
So
more criticism from sports movies. Why did it take so long to bench Ryan Gosling's character and Remember the Titans? Total liability. Couldn't cover his own jock. Why did it take so long to get him moved to the bench and get Petey out there at cornerback? And while we're at it, Herman Boone, how do you call a double reverse with the state title on the line 60 yards away from your own end zone? You got to have a lot of faith in your lead blocking to call that play. And hey, it worked out. It's a good play if it works, right? But come on, man. You got one play to win the state title. You call a dang double reverse. I don't know. I don't know how I felt about that one. Rookie of the year. Why are we using Henry Rowengartner in 3-inning relief appearances? Like, you're going to burn out his arm. It was the 90s. We already knew, like, you couldn't use a relief pitcher like they used to use Hoyt Wilhelm back in the day, especially the kid with the big fastball. Man, if they didn't use Henry Rowengartner just 1 inning at a time, they probably would have been fine. And maybe he doesn't burn out his arm when he falls on it the second time. Maybe he still has some juice to throw 100 miles an hour past Alejandro Hedo, even though he gets him with the floater. Give him credit where it's due. Anyhow, those are good flicks. Paul brings up Angels in the Outfield. Low-key, Angels in the Outfield has the best cast of any of those kids' sports movies. You go back and look at who's in that movie. Matthew McConaughey is in that movie. Adrian Brody is in that movie. Like, really accomplished actors just turn up for like a scene at a time as like random players on the Angels. Crazy good cast in that movie.
I mean, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's made a big career. Tony Danza.
Well, yes, like the stars in the movie were stars, but like the secondary guys on the baseball team being actors like Adrian Brody and Matthew McConaughey is still pretty wild.
I'd they list Matthew McConaughey as the second actor?
Well, because he's the second most famous guy in the movie, maybe the most famous guy in the movie. That's a good one too. Why'd they have to kill off Mel Clark? Spoiler alert. Why'd they have to just drop that one in casually? Hey, kid, enjoy this masterclass pitching performance from Mel Clark because he's going to croak this offseason.
I just found somebody in the movie that I did not know was in the movie. The guy, did you and your wife ever watch The Rookie?
Yes. Jim Morris?
Eric Winter was in Angels in the Outfield.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Tim Bradford from The Rookie.
Yeah.
My
texter from the 785 real quick. Wanted to say, did they get the details in Friday Night Lights wrong? Didn't they actually win? They didn't actually win the title, or didn't they actually win the state title that year? No, they got that detail right in the movie. They did not win state the year that the Friday Night Lights book is about. They did go on and win it the next year. I don't remember. They did lose to Dallas Carter, too. That was also true. But they lost to Dallas Carter in the semifinals in real life, not in the state championship game. And also, there are multiple documentaries about that Dallas Carter team because 4 of their players decided they would go on a little robbery spree after the season, and they all got thrown in jail for a long time. Like big time college recruits. Like one of the kids was a big meal ticket Division I, sure shot D1 football player. Just decided to rob some places at gunpoint with his buddies, and they all did serious time as 17-year-olds. There's a 30 for 30 on that and everything. Anyhow, what's your random question?
Kind of a sports moment, not winning a title, not somebody breaking a career record, not a it is a milestone, but I don't know, not an older player doing something that their career, they've had this many career stuff. What is one of those remember where you were, where you are, so you remember where you were moments of your sports fandom? I say this because the other day, May 11th, 2016, Max Scherzer 20 strikeout game. I was a senior in high school. It was basically school's over.
Sure.
It was the last month of the year and we didn't do anything. So my buddies and I, we were watching all the Nationals games.
Sure.
And I just remember sitting there is he going to go 9 innings? He threw 119 pitches.
And still struck out 20.
And at the night, he said, tonight, at the end of the night, was a special night because, strikeouts are sexy. And
he's right about that.
Out 20, it's sexy. Strikeouts are sexy.
He's right about that.
Those two, the 20 strikeouts and him saying strikeouts are sexy are iconic memories in my sports memory bank.
I will give you a unique circumstance in which I watched a favorite team or player do something noteworthy. I watched the 2005 NFC Championship game at the Atlanta airport.
Okay.
So that was the Seahawks' first ever conference championship game victory. Punched their ticket to the Super Bowl. They beat Carolina 34-14. Game was never really in doubt. Seattle jumped out to a 17-0 lead in the first quarter and really controlled the game from there. Anyway, I was with DePaul University's basketball teams, was doing their broadcasts. We were that weekend. We were in Atlanta. We were playing Oglethorpe University. Oglethorpe. They're the Stormy Petrels, by the way. That's their mascot. It's a bird. A Stormy Petrel is a bird. Anyway, so we play Oglethorpe that afternoon, and we were going to fly out that evening. And so I understood, okay, I'm probably not going to get to watch a whole lot of this game live. One of my roommates had a VCR, so I made him tape the game in case I couldn't watch any of it. This is 2005, right?
Yeah.
This is before, I guess, technically 2006. So, you could get updates on your phone, but this is before you could, watch it on your phone.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're in downtown Atlanta. We're in between, the university and getting to the airport. We go and eat dinner somewhere, a sports bar, and I watched the whole first quarter of the game, and I'm losing my mind. The Seahawks are up 17-0. Oh, my God. They're going to the Super Bowl. Second quarter, I spend on the team bus in line at Hartsfield, getting ready to get on the airplane. Well, our flight got delayed 4 hours. So we were just sitting there in the, at our gate, and they had the football game on, a TV. So I watched the whole second half live and watched my team go to the Super Bowl at the Atlanta airport. So that was really cool.
That's crazy.
I can remember that. Very, very fun. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk a little baseball. Royals and White Sox tonight. First of 3 at Rate Field. We'll preview next on 580 WIBW. In about 13 minutes, we'll have pregame coverage of Royals baseball here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Game 1 of 3 between the Royals and the White Sox in Chicago. KC and Chicago splitting a 4-game series at Kauffman Stadium back in early April. This is an improved White Sox team, no question about it. 19-21 on the season. The headliner is Munetaka Murakami, the Japanese import that nobody seemed to want in the offseason. He got posted. He put up big power numbers, and everybody was worried, well, gosh, he's going to strike out a lot. Like, he strikes out a lot in Japan where nobody strikes out. He's going to get to the big leagues, and he's just going to be overpowered. He's going to strike out a lot, and he's not going to be able to get to his power. And the White Sox said, well, we'll take a 2-year gamble on a contract that he'll be able to get to his power. And both sides are right, because Murakami leads the American League with 60 strikeouts, and he's also got 15 home runs. So it's one of those where both sides are correct. We've talked about it before on this show. Like, there's a certain amount. If you're going to strike out over 30% of the time as a hitter, you better do real damage in the other 70% of your at-bats. Munetaka Murakami's like, yeah, okay, I will. Here's 15 dings in 40 games. Here's the other fun part of Murakami's batting line this year. 15 home runs, 1 double. If he hits it over the infield, and it's a home run in all likelihood. That's a wild looking stat line for Murakami. So he's hitting just 232, but again, 15 home runs, and he's not the only one off to a good start. Colson Montgomery's got 10 home runs. Miguel Vargas has 9. It's a young, talented infield. Chase Mydroth's off to a good start. Nobody in that infield older than 26. A little bit frisky. And they've got Davis Martin up at the top of the rotation, pitching like an ace. Don't think he's scheduled. He might go Thursday. I'm not seeing an announced starter on Baseball Reference, but I think that's his day. He's got a 1.62 ERA through 8 starts. So this is not your older brother's White Sox. They're not the kind of pushover that you saw them on the schedule 2 years ago and said, well, here's a sweep.
Yeah.
Like, not these guys. They'll line up like this tonight. Sam Antonacci leading off in left field. The aforementioned Murakami at first, Vargas at third, Montgomery at short, hitting cleanup, and Mydroth at second base. Then Royal Great Andrew Benintendi DHing. Jared Kelnick is on this team. I only learned that the other day. Remember when he was a big deal prospect coming up with the Mariners? Like, big deal, can't miss prospect. Well, he missed.
He sure did.
He missed. And he's only 26, though, which is crazy. He could still maybe make something of himself. He's batting 7th in right field. Tristan Peters is the center fielder. Rocky great Drew Romo is the catcher. Romo, 4 for 23 this season. All 4 of his hits for extra bases, 3 of them are home runs. Talk about feast or famine. That lineup will face Stephen Kolek, who has famously turned in 6 quality starts in his 6 Royals starts, 5 of them last year and 1 start last week. He'll try and build on that tonight. The lineup in support of Kolek against Chicago right-hander Eric Fetty. Michael Garcia leading off at third. Bobby Witt Jr. at short. Vinny Pasquantino at first. Salvador Perez in that familiar cleanup role. He'll catch tonight. Carter Jensen is the DH batting 5th. Jack Caglione batting 6th in right field. Then it's Isaac Collins in left. Michael Massey at second. And Kyle Isbell in center. What is becoming the familiar lineup for Matt Quatrero and the Royals. I think earlier I said Fetty was left-handed. That's not correct.
You know, he's right.
Nationals great Eric Fetty looking for his first win of the year, though his ERA is a solid 3.79. Not really a bat misser. He's a 5-and-fly guy.
Yeah.
So for the Royals, want to be patient, want to try and knock him out of the game early, want to try and get to the White Sox bullpen, though their back-end guys have been halfway decent so far this season.
I told Brendan that once I saw the Royals lineup that I knew they were facing a righty because Jack Caglione was in the lineup.
Well, yes.
And that's my new identifier.
Massey's really the tell. Like, Massey definitely doesn't start against lefties, but because they can platoon him with Nick Lofton. But yeah, that has been a tell and an unfortunate one for the Royals. But no need to litigate that today.
Yeah.
They've got Cags in the lineup against the righty.
There's an update on Cole Reagans and Rogers reporting from talking with Matt Quatrero that he played catch Sunday and today. Said both went well, but today's was better than Sunday, which is a good sign. Still day-to-day, but expectation is that he will play catch again tomorrow.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Good news that he's throwing, and hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later. I said it at the top of the show. We were talking about guys who started well, guys who started slowly for the Royals. I don't know that there's a version of this Royals season that ends particularly well that doesn't involve some quality innings from Cole Reagan.
Exactly.
So he's got to pitch better than he has, and I think he's capable, but he's got to pitch more too. And hopefully we'll see more of Cole Reagan's real soon. We'll take one final break here on 580 Sports Talk. Come back with the final word to put a bow on this Tuesday show. Before we get to a final word, had a texter from the 785 ask me, since I was commenting on hockey earlier, if I thought that the St. Louis Blues would trade their goaltender Jordan Binnington in the offseason. I don't have a great feel for NHL roster construction, so I can't give you a great answer to that. But what I can say is, remember when Nazem Kadri scored a hat trick on Binnington in the 2022 playoffs? That was sick. I enjoyed the hell out of that. I'm not a big Jordan Binnington fan. I just got to say that out front. Anyway, it is time for the final word on 580 Sports Talk. Spencer, give it to me.
Yeah, final word for me. I don't know the exact year or the exact time, but I feel like when I was in high school, again, just over 10 years ago, that I would just pop on social media at like 6 or 7 o'clock, maybe 8 o'clock, and the then Redskins schedule would just be popped on Instagram, and it'd be like, get your tickets starting tomorrow. And now it's turned into this big media event.
Yeah, it's the whole thing.
And I guess it brings buzz, right? Like, it's a dead period. It's the NFL trying to create buzz. But I just remember when it was simply just, here's your schedule. Pick what games you want to go to. Maybe start your travel plans. Now it's just like literally taking over the world, that like you have to stay on what's happening on what morning show during the week that it comes out to know when what's going to get dropped.
Everything is content. Everything is content. That's and the NFL's content is the king of sports content. Final word for me today. I hope Salvador Perez can push the sun back into the sky and give the Royals one more year of quality offensive production. He started really slow last year, even slower in the power department last season, and turned it around, finished with 30 home runs and 100 RBI. It's not out of the question he can do it again. Never question a player who's done so much or as much as Salvador Perez. But the Royals have enough guys swinging decent bats in the lineup, something that really wasn't the case the last 2 years, that they can juggle the lineup and get a little bit more production if Salvador Perez continues to struggle and be an offensive liability. So I don't know how long the Royals should wait for Salvi to turn it around, but he's earned his stripes, he's earned that captaincy, and he's earned the opportunity to try and, again, push that sun back into the sky for one more season of summer. Royals baseball's next. We'll be back tomorrow from 3 until 6. For Brendan Dworzinski and Spencer Dupuis, I'm Dan Lucero, and this was 580 Sports Talk. Good night!